This is Boxing Tickets, and we are delighted to be joined once again with a. I think I have this name just stuck in my head now for you, Jimmy, the head honcho of Conlan Boxing.
Debatable, mate. It's very debatable.
I guess on any given day, obviously it can change, but I guess for obviously us speaking, obviously I think it's the last time I've seen you since the Feile. Um, Obviously the Feile what just over 2 months ago, well 2.5 months ago now, but I guess we've had our summertime. We've sort of had a busy period for sort of boxing and sort of the planning that sort of went on since as we're sort of going to come to. But obviously, I guess the first thing to start off with is you've two fighters in action in Boston this weekend. Obviously, Kieran Molloy and Fearghus Quinn are both in 6 rounders in the IB Hall in
Yeah,
Boston, Massachusetts.
yeah, no, lads. Both have good fan bases already in New York, Boston areas, Philadelphia as well. So on the East Coast of America, it's good to try and get as much talent out there to really grow and build. And it's something we've been looking at for the past while and developed the relationship with Mark Porter and kind of helped us to get the lads on a show in Boston, seeing it was a perfect time, fitted in before the end of the year. Hopefully both lads will be out again and come through Saturday and be out again before Christmas. But yeah, really excited about Boston. Molloy especially, he has a big following. Connemara, West Coast of Ireland, Galway, a lot of them guys emigrate to Boston and always have. So there's a big Boston community, a big Galway community in Boston. And I think it's perfect place for Kieran to capitalize and showcase his talents and show there's a new star coming through from Ireland and potentially build something big on the East Coast of America. Ferg surprised me. He also has a big following in New York, and when we're talking about doing something in Boston, he said he would love to get involved. And we got him on a slot on the card, and it's just about keeping busy and keeping active. He's wanting big fights. So again, his stay in America is tailor made, fan friendly, TV made. He is ready-made, friendly fighter over there.
I guess as we're seeing, obviously quite a lot of obviously Irish fighters now are starting to sort of build themselves on both sides of the pond. You've Callum Wilkes, obviously with the UFC and stuff like that behind him, is doing big things. And Tommy Hyde, I think 6 of his 8 fights this year have all been in America. So it's a good thing to sort of they lean into, because sometimes for the Americans it's probably time difference, stuff like that, being able to keep track of
Mm-hmm.
people at home. So at least it keeps things fresh. If Kieran and Curtin get out there and show the fans that support them out there how much they mean.
Yeah, 100%. It's always been a big market for Irish boxers, especially on the East Coast of America, to try and build around that Irish market. There's a lot of expats come over who've emigrated over the years and have relocated to America, and they want that. They love boxing. They always love boxing, but they want a closer feel to Irish fight nights, and bringing Irish fighters to them is potentially one of the ways to do that. We had experienced it for the last since 2017 with Michael and how he was received in New York and how he's received all around America, but mainly New York, and how they came out in their droves for him. So it's just about building a fan base, building a real ingrown fan base from here who will also travel over, but then finding your market over there and capitalizing at the right opportunities. And I think Boston, with the Irishness within Boston, with the Irish Americans there, it's the perfect time, perfect location.
I've seen obviously a good friend of Kieran, Thomas O'Toole, obviously has been out in Boston quite a bit, and obviously I'm sure a lot of Thomas O'Toole's ones will get obviously involved with Kieran as well there. So you nearly probably feel like the IB Hall obviously be somewhere in Ireland on Saturday evening with that much Irish there.
Well, that's part of it as well. So we want to see, like, Kieran is dipping his toe into the water on this, but also needs to make a bit of a splash, needs to make a statement, needs to make Top Rank aware also that there is a big Irish American community ready to get behind him, like they were with Michael, and this is his chance to do that. This is the first kind of stage and first step, and if we can get out again before the end of the year back over here, then we go back there early part of next year. That's the plan with Kieran. And yeah, just this was needed. I think this was needed this year. This was part of the process, part of the plan with Kieran. The development of him is to build him a star in the East Coast of America. And to do that, we need to really generate our own kind of fan base and create it ourselves, and that's what he's doing.
Obviously, touching back then, sort of on the field, because I know obviously just with everything was going on, sort of when you all that plan and all the fight and everything else, we weren't obviously able to get an interview afterwards. And initially, obviously, Dublin card and stuff like that was going through, but sort of looking back, obviously, a different change to the field of this year, obviously, you know, and I still hear the song in my head from obviously Paddy's Ring Walk, but another special Feile 2023. And obviously, as you said, that this seems to be now it's going to be a regular occurrence. You know, I know the Feile date's already been announced, sort of, I think, for next year. So obviously, probably already forward planning now for next year for that as well.
We'll see. We'll see. It all depends on if it makes sense. But yeah, it would be good to do it. It's something we like to do. Something that's we set it ourselves to do, and it's more of a passion project than anything. But it's got to make sense. Well, big fights need to be brought there. Big occasions need to be brought there, and you know, it was really good to kind of downgrade and see how it was received and see how it was you know, without the 10,000 that we were doing the previous two times. It's how it looks, how it feels, and it gives us a good platform to kind of grow on and grow from with the fighters we have and in and around the community. And yeah, it's something we always want to do. It's personal to us, but it also needs to make sense from our standpoint. Yeah.
And obviously touching on the big one, I guess, and probably your phone hasn't stopped with everything, but I guess obviously when the Dublin card falling through, it gives you sort of maybe extra time and extra planning. Obviously secretly behind closed doors, you're obviously doing a bit of work with Matchroom boxing, but obviously this is probably taking Conlan boxing now to the next level, being involved with Eddie Hearn, Matchroom and DAZN.
Yeah, it's big. It's big for us. It's big for the city. Matchroom come with, you know, it's a big machine. It just runs itself, and they have the production element of like nothing else you kind of see on any other promotion. They bring a bigger stage, and it's exciting. It should be exciting for the city. It should be exciting for all the boxers in the city and in Ireland. But it's yeah, gives people an opportunity here to really grow and to put themselves on a massive scale. You know, every fight that has been put on has a bit of something to it. You know, you go right down the card where we're trying the whole card to have it real good fights and everyone having an opportunity to showcase their talents, but also progress their career onto the next level. And that's kind of what everyone's wanted to do. They've seen the big TV cameras, they've seen the big promotion coming in, and they've wanted to stand up, make themselves counted for, and really steal the show. So yeah, it's been good. It's been coming. It's been something we've been building. We've been running our own shows. We've been doing ourselves. We've been kind of taking a lot of risks on ourselves with no UK broadcasters sometimes, and now we've teamed up with Matchroom and DAZN on this one. It's a real opportunity for Conlan Boxing to kind of show to Matchroom also that, you know, the talent here and the quality here as well as the quantity here is something that needs to be nourished and cherished and built, and it's what we have been doing and want to continue to do on the ground here.
And I guess, you know, you maybe obviously going to confirm, but this isn't just a one-time thing with Matchroom. This is sort of like a partnership, maybe sort of moving forward. Is Michael fully signed or still in that sort of shop window? Is he fully signed to Matchroom now as well?
Yeah, he's saying the Matchroom. He's saying the Matchroom. So we're looking forward to. There's a plan in place, and it's just about executing here. First and foremost is December 2nd. We can't look at anything else after December 2nd. It's a massive night. It's a massive night for Michael's career. It's a night I'm very excited about, but also you're always going to be on edge when your brother is fighting. But I think it's one of these nights where we really can grab the bull by the horns here and put our best foot forward and showcase. We know it, and everyone who kind of comes to the shows here, whether it be our shows or Marked on Lap shows, they know what Belfast boxing has to offer. But now's our chance to really showcase the talent that we have here, and as well as the fan base, as well as the atmosphere, and really kind of make sure the big broadcasters are here to stay.
And I guess the one that sort of, you know, and obviously you're to thank for this. Obviously, before this sort of deal came with Matchroom, you're initially already planning for a card, but you know, a fight that sort of came from nowhere. I sort of tried to take credit, and you told me two choice words was obviously Tyrone and Lewis. Like it's a fight for the ages. It's sort of, you know, and I keep thinking on it, and you look back at the promos, and you're going, wow, you know, it's like there's not very often in a lot of cards anywhere, sort of, particularly in the UK, where you'll sort of see a fight of that magnitude sort of captivate the audience. But what a Tyrone and Lewis is, you know, is exactly what it says in the tin.
Yeah, yeah. Well, listen, we were going to go December 2nd regardless. You know, Michael's situation was playing itself out, and we had booked a date in the SSE for December 2nd, and I've been putting a card together, speaking to fighters, speaking to managers, speaking to broadcasters, and you know, speaking to Frank Smith of Matchroom about, listen, we have a card here that could really work, and this could be our headline. You could bring in a Agyarko and whatnot if we want to, and then obviously, you know, we moved at really fast pace. The Michael and Jordan Gill got done very quickly, and we started to really run with things. And then it was, but this fight, you know, is that should show the testament of how much I value this fight. I really think this fight is an unbelievable fight for a lot of different reasons. The two fellas, they're polar opposites in one way. You know, their characters are completely different. Lewis is very shy. He's an introvert. He's quiet. He handles his business, but just kind of keeps his head down and gets on with it. Tyrone is an extrovert. He is out there. He's flamboyant. He wears the crazy stuff. He's, you know, loud. He's funny. Everything about it. But then even on their fighting styles, you know, Lewis is kind of like cold, wants to get in, get out, doesn't really want. Tyrone's a showman. He wants to showcase to the crowd, jumping up in the road, like gives it all a lot. So it's a massive fight. It's a massive fight for each guy, and I truly believe, you know, this fight can, you know, regardless of what happens in the main event, this fight can showcase another headline act here in the city, and another opportunity for converted talent to follow through. From McKenna has been on the verge of that for a number of years, fighting high quality fighters as Regis Prograis and Jack Kettle, and you know, he's always been mixing with the best. Crocker has been coming through. The talent has always been there, the talk has always been there, but he hasn't had that opportunity to really showcase it. This is his opportunity. Is it too late? Is it too soon? Sorry, is it too soon for him to run into this? Is it the wrong kind of fight? Is it, you know, there's a lot of kind of questions that could be asked. What does he perform like when it goes late? How does Tyrone take his shots early? How does Tyrone take? You know, Tyrone has got a great chin. He's fought Regis Prograis, but this is a big welterweight in Lewis Crocker. There's a lot of questions that will make you not want to leave your seat for this fight. It'll make you kind of just like intrigue you in the whole next 6 weeks, 7.5 or 6.5 weeks to the show. It will be debated around, and every time I go to somewhere else and someone talks about it, you know, coffee shop, barbers, whatever, they have a different opinion than the next guy, and the next guy will have a different opinion to the guy after that. So, yeah, it's something that is, you know, it's needed. It really is needed to progress boxing. This is what boxing should be about. The lads deserve utmost credit. They took the fight. They asked for the fight. They wanted the fight. They thought the fight made sense more than anything, and it's give them an opportunity to really put themselves on the map here in the city to grab the big fights.
Obviously, just going back to Michael, obviously, I know that Jordan Gill obviously was initially on the plan. Obviously, wanted Jordan Gill, obviously, after the Lee Wood defeat, he wanted to sort of use Jordan Gill being a mate of Lee Wood's to obviously try and get the rematch, beat the friend, and then force him into a rematch. So he's been on the sort of radar for a while. Obviously, it's intriguing of the fact that obviously both have obviously fought Geoffrey as well, and people, I've obviously seeing people sort of downplaying Gill as the who is he, and I guess that's boxing sometimes, isn't it? And people see these Jordan Gill's been on Matchroom, he's been on DAZN, he's been on Sky. He's obviously been a European champion and stuff like that as well. I guess it's people will just downplay. They expect you to fight a world title level opponent every time. And this is probably in some ways it's showing the intent for Michael to go back in there where he can go and take on a former European champion. to get himself ready back in the mix again. So really, really intriguing fight in that respect as well.
It's a fantastic fight. It's a fight that came out of nowhere, really, but it's been muted for a while. I recall one Feile, one Falls Park Feile that we were having a bit of an issue with one of Michael's opponents. I'm not actually sure which one. And I rung Dave Coyle on Fight Week and said, would Jordan Gilby, he had a fight the same night, but it was not to the extent of Michael. Would he be available to kind of switch over and take that? And you know, it was very soon, so they turned it down, but rightfully so. But they've sparred. You know, as you stated, Gill has been very vocal on, you know, when Michael was fighting Lee Wood and, you know, cheering on his friend, and you know, it was kind of gloating in the fact of the result of the Lee Wood fight. So it's kind of been building her also. So he's a good guy, Jordan. He come down and sparred Michael a lot, and you know, we would have brought him down to London, down to Surrey, and there was great rounds. There was rounds where, you know, he had it his way, and then there was rounds that Michael had Michael's way, and you know, that's what makes this fight very intriguing. Where have the lads both improved, and where have they not improved? What have they learned from the spars previous? You know, these are different. This is a different fight altogether. Both understand there is so much on the line here that, you know, career over for whoever loses potentially. You know, Jordan's coming off the loss to Kiko last year, Michael to Lopez this year, former European champion. Both have beat Gill, as you stated, and stays make fight regarding Gurphy. Stays make fights, and you know, that's kind of what can change a result. Both knocked out Gurphy, and that was the end result. So yeah, he's been on the radar, but it came out of nowhere. This one, we were talking with Frank, and we were looking at the different kind of fights to come back to. It was like a new coach, new location, different country. You know, we're fighting up at super featherweight for this one as well. The kind of suit Gill maybe a bit more, or does it suit Michael? It's a test of the water there at super featherweight for Michael also. Yeah, there's a lot, again, similar to Crocker McKenna. There is a lot of intrigue and a lot of different scenarios that can play out. Gill's a good boxer, good mover. Michael hasn't really fought the mover like Gill before. There's a lot to kind of to tick off. The lads know each other, but what have they learned from knowing each other? How can they manipulate the other opponent's style, and how can they make it to the benefit? So they're, again, fantastic fight. Fair play to the lads both take it. I was very surprised. Very surprised Gill took it, but I was not surprised at Michael's mentality and jumping straight to it and saying, yes, I want, that's the kind of fights I want. It's only them kind of fights, big fights to get me back into other fights. And we were looking at Mauro Forte before this as well. It was another guy on the radar who's the European champion of featherweight, and that could be still an option to look at if the big fights don't open themselves up early part of next year. But yeah, it all comes down to December 2nd. It really is to get back. You know, it's an opportunity to get back into the mix for the big fights, and this is for either of them. Both guys are chomping at the bit to get back in.
And obviously, like, you know, sometimes you have to sell up a card and everything else like that. But with this card, you haven't. Like, we've talked about two great fights already, and Kieran Agyarko and Troy Williamson and Sean McComb and Sam Maxwell. Like, and they probably, you know, you look at all four fights, and you're not probably maybe say that every sort of fight could obviously top a card. It could depend on where it's at, but four fantastic fights. Like, there's a needle between Agyarko and Williamson as well. Kieran initially turned it down, I think, and he was saying for September. He obviously was taken off the Katie Taylor card, and I think that was their plan. There was talk going about Belfast here, and I get sort of slated for it and thinking that Kieran was away from Matchroom, and then all of a sudden the fight gets made, and there's seems to be a needle there between the two of them, and probably Troy Williamson's probably got one up at the moment. They say he was sort of, the gun was put the Keevan's head and say take a fight or sort of maybe go. So he sort of one, they say that he had to say no the first time, they say yes the second time, but that's another intriguing fight as well.
Oh, listen, they all are. Kievan and Troy is fascinating, and it's fascinating because of the way it has played out to this moment in time, to the point we're at. I think it'll be the first time Kievan will have in his career someone who's going to be at him from fight week, it'll be different. It'll be in your face. He'll be trying to intimidate him and put it on him. Troy probably obviously has a bit of confidence from the fight being turned down. Kieran has his reasons for that, so he can keep them to himself and just work in silence and build off the back of that. But it's a real intriguing fight, and a fight, yeah, rightfully so. All of them can have their own, depending on where it is, their own kind of headline platform. And again, it's another fight where you go, I think this makes the card stand out more than others. Troy is no nonsense throwback fighter, takes fights with no real hesitation. He's do or die. He's in your face. He's punching hard. He's getting hit back. Kieran has a really tough test on his hands, but if the talent that we all have seen throughout the years with Kieran is there, I think this could be his coming out party and really look fantastic. And if he puts his punches together, it could be devastating. But it's, again, there's a lot of questions to be hit. What's he going to react like when someone like Troy is hitting him, and if he takes his shots, how does he come back? And a lot of questions to be asked. And it's fascinating. It's a fight that we all didn't realize that we needed. When it probably was initially proposed, you would have said, Troy's coming off a pretty clear loss to Josh Kelly, and it's a fight that doesn't do much, but now it does. Harrod's the back and forth on social media, the back and forth with Harrod's played out on different cards, and now we're here in Belfast, coming to his own city, first fight back with Matchroom. He fought with MTK back in the day, but it was first fight now with Matchroom at the SSE with the big lights on. It's fascinating. So it's another one. And then when we move on to McComb and Maxwell, these two guys live together. They shop together, they ate together, they didn't sleep together, but they slept in the same house. So it's, they cheered each other on. They were their own biggest, supporters, because they were the sparring partners for them, for everyone else. And it's fascinating how they've came up throughout the 2 or 3 years they were together with Danny Vaughan, learning from each other. Now they're here to fight each other at probably a crossroads stage, especially for Sam Maxwell, coming off the loss of Dalton Smith. And if Sean McComb beats Sam, he should be in the mix straight away with Dalton Smith. It's a fantastic, if Sam beats Sean, he's back in the mix for the big fights. And yeah, you have to credit to each other. Every single fighter who is on the card are a credit to themselves, and they are proving that they're real boxing men, real fighting men, and real ballsy characters.
And obviously, I know it hasn't been officially confirmed yet, but I've done an interview with one half of it, but obviously another. So, well, this one's more of a domestic sort of one, and obviously Rudy Farrell and Jared Hughes. They obviously have had a bit of back and forth. We're initially supposed to fight in the Feile, and obviously it seems to be that them two will probably have to create a bit of needle for themselves in fight week so that people don't forget about them with so many big fights on the card.
Yeah, 100%. And it's, again, it shows the depth and quality that we have here. It shows that fights on the undercard off TV are still great fights in their own right. And it was something that we've always kind of tried to do. If a fighter has took an opportunity, even if it's 60-40 against them, and gives a fantastic account of himself and easy to work with and good to work with, he deserves another crack at it. And Rudy is that kind of fighter. Took a fight with Colin Murphy, performed brilliantly. I thought was really easy to work with throughout the build-up. Done really good on tickets. Was a credit to himself and his family. And then Harry performed in a fight which I didn't think he did. I thought he was 60-40, 70-30 against. And he stood up there and like really tried to grab his opportunity with both hands and came up just short. He deserves another crack at the whip for that. And now he gets up with Jared Hughes, a young kid who's been on our last show in the Falls Park and was due to be on one of our shows in Galway. Paddy McCrory is now managing him. So he's got my number and rings me every day about him or texts me about him in any shows that we've got. So he gets a massive opportunity now to perform and showcase his talents against a real fighter and Rudy Farrell. And it's very intriguing. I think it'll be fast and furious. Both lads very, very, very confident and made a best man win.
So that's sort of 5 fights we have. How many sort of fights are we looking at in total? I guess I don't want you to sort of name drop anything. Might get you in bother with Eddie and Frank and Matchroom, obviously giving away too much too soon. But how many fights are we sort of looking at in total?
I think we're at 8 at the minute. Potentially we can go to 9. I think is what we might go, but we're at 8 at the minute. Fearghus Quinn will be the other one. We were trying to do Fearghus Quinn and Aston Brown, but there just wasn't enough budget there to do that. And Fearghus, being the man he is, just wants to fight anyone. So Fearghus is back in another 6 rounder. And then we will go most likely headlining with Fearghus early part of next year. Whether it be the Girdwood or Ulster Hall will confirm. But yeah, looking big fights of Fearghus here on in. 2 6 rounders before Christmas. One thing he needed was activity, and that's what he's got in 2023. And yeah, again, genuine fighter, no nonsense, just wants to fight. No frills, no urgent graces, doesn't make things hard. He just kind of gets in, does his work, and picks up his check and goes. And there's no drama with Fearghus. But in the ring, he is a fucking nightmare. He is a locomotive train that just keeps coming until he gets his destination. His fight with Graham McCormick was fantastic. And again, on an undercard where you go, you forget about it. You forget it's actually happening, and then it grips you in, and they're the kind of fights that we like to see and continue to reward the fighters involved.
And obviously, this has ended up being this card's hopefully going to be the last one of the year. But obviously, that's going to be the 15th show of 2023. It only offers, and obviously we got to the stage in 2019. Obviously, where everything was flying. The start of 2020 was obviously Joe Fitzpatrick and Gary Culliam were going brilliant with 2 shows, I think, in the same night. Box in Ireland and the show in the Devonish.
Right,
And we're going to have a really, really big year, 2020. There's obviously shows announced. Remember the Friday and the Saturday, and they were pulled off with COVID. The Ulster Hall
right,
and the Europa. We're obviously now getting this stage of 15 shows this year. Like next year, obviously, I know Jay Byrne, obviously, they've penciled in 6 dates already. So like we're on for a mammoth year. You could sort of nearly have a fight card every 4 weeks in Ireland.
But it's needed. I think it's really needed. I think it's a testament to the people here. I think it's a testament to the boxers here, and giving the boxers an opportunity to really showcase and build their talents on their home soil, not having to go away as opponents and or go away and learn on the road or anything like that. They're paid to go on builds across the water. This is an opportunity for fighters to kind of. There's all levels here. Also, there's fights in the Devonish, there's fights in Girdwood, there's fights in the SSE, there's fights in Red Cow. So you've got a wide variety of levels to kind of step onto and move on to, and then the clear pathway is always to get to the big shows, as in the 3 Arena, the SSC, the Falls Park. That's kind of what you want as a young fighter coming through, to see that there is an element of growth within the country, and that's up to the promoters. That's up to all the promoters to kind of work together and provide these opportunities for the fighters. The fighters have to do their end, but also the promoters have to do their work.
And obviously, when we look back to sort of May, and obviously it was a dreadful sort of week, 7 days for obviously Irish boxing, and Katie losing to obviously Chantel Carmen and Mick losing to Lopez. This, as you say, obviously the get back sort of, there's that real sense that, particularly for Katie more so than anything. But obviously it's sort of, maybe even for Mick as well, it could be obviously last chance saloon. So it's a chance for both to obviously get their rightful place back, as obviously being in the top table and continuing to lead things forward for Irish boxing. But both within 7 days, again, it's crazy to think it. Ireland's obviously playing a host to DAZN and Matchroom all around the world, and Ireland's got a case over 7 years to showcase itself to everybody, if they didn't already know how big boxing was here.
Yeah, I remember when I was probably my first fight, I think it was probably second or third, but there was 2 big fights on the one night, both on Sky Sports, 2 shows. One was with Frank Warren Promotions at the time, and one was with Matchroom with McCluskey, I think, and I think Rogie and Saxton was the other one in Belfast, which I was on. But yeah, it shows we came full circle back to the earth. But the difference between then and now is we have we have a grassroots understanding of professional boxing. We have different tiers of where we can do shows and how we can grow shows, and that there's actually promoters on the island willing to take a risk and build shows on themselves, with hoping that the big promoters and the big the TV networks all come in. So yeah, it's long may it continue, and hopefully it's not the 15th show. It could actually be the 16th show if we maybe do one potentially before it.
And is that depend on the results of one fight this weekend?
Potentially. We're looking at it. It's not nailed on yet, but we are looking at potentially doing a show in Galway before the end of the year. So yeah, just looking at logistics and how it works. Like, so yeah, big week.
Nice way to tease Kieran then, obviously, when he's in Boston, as they say, get your 7th Pro win, do it in obviously whatever fashion you want, but you can have a Galway show, whoever's going to work. And we've seen what Galway was like last time. I don't even think tickets went in general sale. Kieran had sold them all.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with Galway. It's a unique place. It's a place that has been starved of professional boxing, and starved of opportunities for the fighters down there. They have a great depth and talent that the amateur system has been getting, is getting the joy off and reaping the benefits of. But these fighters now have to have something to transition over into the professional game, and Kieran Molloy is carrying the flag for that down there and building his own kind of unique standpoint and a unique professional scene with ourselves down there, and just growing as we grow down there, so does he. But so does the professional boxing down there, and it's don't want to distract him about Saturday. The Saturday is the main point. He has to get through Saturday, and he has to come through unscathed with flying colours, and then we can sit down, myself and his father and Kieran, and see if we have a pencil on the date down there. So we're looking to see if it's possible and if it's logistically doable and all that there jazz. So we would like to do it. Something we'd set out to do is to really put a footprint on the west coast of Ireland and give fighters their opportunities, not now, but for the future.
Obviously, when we're speaking so much about obviously the boom of Irish boxing, it wouldn't be fair if we obviously didn't speak on obviously Hugh Russell obviously passed away last year. You'll always last week, sorry. You'll obviously know more than anybody obviously the influence that Hugh had obviously in the sport, and particularly obviously here in Belfast boxing. And I remember speaking to Martin Duffy and stuff at the Gerwood last week. You obviously had a problem. You went to Hugh Russell and he solved it, but he'll always be massively missed in Belfast boxing, not only Belfast boxing, Irish boxing, and even worldwide boxing. The amount that he done for boxing here.
No, people don't realise what Hugh Russell done for, I think, every professional boxer in Belfast and in the north, and even foreign boxers coming in. He was, as you said, the go-to. For me, when I'm promoting shows, you would have the meeting, you would listen to all what the do's and the don'ts, and you walk out and you leave Hugh's house and he puts his arm over your shoulder and just say, come to me. If you have a problem, just come to me. Don't worry about all lemons in there. And he was always the rock for not just boxers, but for promoters, for people looking at advice in the sport, amateur boxers coming through. He was always there for you. He made time. He always answered the phone. When we were doing fight weeks, he was always a help. He didn't try to make things harder. He always tried to make your life a bit easier. He always took pressure off your shoulders. Like, as a fighter, you didn't feel like you had people to go to, but you could go to Hugh. When I was coming through, you could always go to Hugh. He would always, like, I remember when I turned pro, he came down the Brains to have a look and just give me his number then, and anything I ever needed, I went to Hugh. Any questions, any queries, I just went to Hugh. And like, people won't realize the miss that we all will have. He was a big character, and when we were due to meet that day that he had passed, I was in a meeting earlier that day, and I was telling two guys who are nothing to do with boxing whatsoever about Hugh Russell passing, and the devastation in this fella's face. I didn't know he even knew who Hugh was. He reached people outside of what we do. We think boxing is the world, and it's a very, very small bubble and a niche bubble, but Hugh Russell transcended that, with the Irish News and with being a photographer and everything else he done. He brought a bit of joy to people, and one thing I can say is that no one, you couldn't say a bad word about Hugh just because he was just that kind of guy.
He's definitely obviously, and I know that we've obviously had a show since, and you were obviously out the way in Europa last week, and I know it's past me just that morning, but you were still looking round, just waiting to see that smile walking through the door. It's
Yeah.
one thing you always see as that smile walking about, and even on 5 weeks and stuff as well. But it's a massive loss for Irish boxing, not only for what he done as an Olympian, what he done as a professional boxer, but the man and the person that he was. He'll leave that lasting memory of everybody.
No, what just a great human being. Just a great human being.
Definitely is. But look, obviously, I'll believe it sort of on there. Obviously, I know the timer's sort of running down to about 4 minutes. I've probably got you on for longer than you'd sort of planned. But thanks for obviously having a catch up with us. Obviously, just finally on tickets, then obviously, I think there's not very many tickets left, I believe.
No, I think as of this morning there was around about 1,500, 1,700, and payday weekend is what people were holding off to as well. This weekend coming up, and I don't envision they're going to be hanging around for much longer. It's the perfect night out, perfect Christmas night out for the lads, perfect night out for the girls if they all want to come to it as well. It's just one of these nights that don't come around too often, where you get spoiled as a boxing fan, you get spoiled as a purist, but also you get spoiled as just a casual fan of boxing, of nights out. What Matchroom also bring to it, and the production element, the night out factor. We're in for a treat here. It's the perfect Christmas cracker. It's what you want to get people for a Christmas present or pre-Christmas present. It's the Christmas drinks. It's everything rolled into one, and it's going to be a great night as well.
And I know sometimes people will say, "Oh, you just say that for the sake of it." If anybody goes and looks in Ticketmaster now, it's only 60s, 80s, and 100s left. So there's not even the VIP sort of ones left, which are normally sometimes the last to go. So when people are saying it's only 60s, 80s, and 100s, they really need to get their tickets when they can, because once they're gone, there's no more to come.
No, that's true. That's true. And all the boxes are going as well. People seeing this as a perfect opportunity for Christmas dues, and you get a box, you go out with all the lads, and it's perfect night out. But yeah, I'm very excited about this one. I really am. It's ending the year on a positive note and in style.
Definitely yes. Well, listen, Jamie, thanks very much for your time as always. And no doubt we'll catch up with you in just over 5 weeks' time, fight week in Belfast.
Brilliant, Morty. Good to see
All
you,
right,
mate.
Jamie, take care. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Take care, pal.
Bye-bye.